WCON 1170 Radio and Star Vision Cable Channel 16 are pleased to present We Should Know, hosted by J.W. Simmons, an upbeat, informative look at people, places, and issues facing our community. This education-based analysis of issues will remain positive and informative as we consider closely what we should know.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back. Thank you for being with us today. We Should Know is on the air Tuesdays, each and every Tuesday. At 2:30, we try to bring you some information and hopefully a bit of education to kind of give you some things to think about that will maybe hopefully improve your life, or at least in some cases, when we've had some of our medical specialists on, maybe extend your life a bit. Also, we like to bring folks on periodically to just kind of help you enjoy life a bit, and that's kind of what we're about today. We're talking with Ray Jordan, who is the Executive Director of the Agri Exhibition Center in Clinton. Ray, thank you for being with us. You're kind of like an old hand at this, so you kind of know how we roll here. You've been around for quite some time. I really didn't realize it, and I think we were talking the other day, and around 20 years you've been involved in the business with the county.
Well, I have, JW, and thank you for being here today. As you've stated, yeah, I've worked for May 12th, actually, 18 years in with the county, working for the good old mother Sampson.
There you go.
And obviously, I grew up in Sampson County and have a great heart for things that go on here and for improvement of our county and the quality of life and things that we work with. So that's part of what I do with the Sampson County Expo Center. You know,
I think the interesting too, and a lot of folks may not realize that what you do with the Expo Center is a huge kind of public impact function, and of course you graduated from Wingate College with a degree in business administration.
Business administration,
and it is, when I look at it and you kind of look at it in detail, it is big business in it. And when you think about it, because a lot of the impacts and a lot of the things that goes on there, the facility itself is utilized by a lot of big business in the area.
Oh, it is. And well, if we take the Expo Center on the surface and look at it, just a little quick history. When the original building was built in 1950 as a bowling alley, then it was a cut and sew operation. And then around 1985, the city and the county went together and purchased that building, and actually made it into a one-room civic center. The Chamber of Commerce offices were there. And around 1996-97, the need came to have a larger, nicer, expanded facility. And so at that point in time, the county took the facility over and expanded it, and now includes nearly 40,000 square feet. We have 9.5 acres of land, and we can park 455 cars.
That's a huge parking lot. I mean, sometimes when you go to an event there, you think, well, how do you get all those people in? But when you look at it, I didn't really realize there was over 9 acres there, but the folks that really back during the day that spearheaded that, I recall a couple of people, and correct me on this, Kermit Williamson was very strong in supporting that effort. Quincy Edgerton, I think, as well, and there may be some others I'm missing.
George Upton, Ronnie Jackson, Jimmy Matthews. Actually, if you remember back in the days, and I know a lot of our listeners will,
absolutely,
the Sampson County Expo event was called What Sampson Makes Sampson, and the idea for a civic center came from that group, and as a result of having that event that was held, as you remember, in a tobacco warehouse, and it was completely full at 60,000 square foot building, but that's where the birth of the idea came from. To build and have a civic center for the citizens of Sampson County.
How has technology changed, Ray, over the years? And I know you've kind of seen it from, you just kind of pull stuff in and put it on a table, to now we've got devices that you hold in your hands and all this kind of thing. What has technology done, plus or minus, as it relates to the Civic Center?
Well, there's a lot of things that have benefit, and but when you talk about technology, I think I was laughing at, because I was thinking to myself, a year ago we pulled out and cleaned out some storage closets, and we found some 35 millimeter slide carousels that were still in there from when it originally opened. But technology does play a big part. We're right now in the midst of changing the website for the Expo Center. In the past 6 months, we've had more visitors to the existing site than we've probably had in the past year. So folks are coming to that more. So that's a big impact. People looking information, and especially trying to find out about dates and things for the building. But then again, when folks come in and have events, we're completely, we have free Wi-Fi throughout the building. And, so folks come in, there's times that there's so many people on their smartphones that it clogs the system up, where it kind of exceeds our capacity.
Mm-hmm.
But just, a couple ideas or some things to give you about technology and how they have helped us at the Expo Center is, one is in the past 2 years, we've changed our lighting inside the building from traditional lighting, incandescent bulbs and fluorescents to LED. Well, as a result, we're seeing about a $6,000 to $8,000 a year savings in power.
That's tremendous, isn't it?
And if you recall, a couple of months in February, at the February Board of Commissioners meeting, the commissioners approved a plan where we're going to be changing some motors and some drives inside the facility that alter our HVAC system, where we can control it better. And at the end of the day, once it's implemented and fully operational, we're expecting to see a $10,000 to $12,000 reduction in our utilities on top of what we already have, just through the technology changes. So that has been a good thing. Plus, all the amenities that a client needs, the AV projectors, the sound system and such as this. And we've been fortunate that we've been able to maintain our systems and keep them up. And we replaced our stage lighting a year ago to LED lighting. And, just as an example, in that one project, JW cut out 60,000 watts down to less than 7,000 watts of power consumed when they were all on. So the technology changes does benefit in that standpoint.
I was out at an event some time ago, and I noticed something else as well. The technology piece, historically I recall large cables run from the sound box in the middle of the floor to the stage and that kind of thing. And I saw a young man sitting at the back of the area with just a tablet.
Right.
And I asked him what he was doing. He said, I'm working the sound, but there was no cables around.
Right. And and that's the new technology. If you go to a major concert now, in most places, any sound system of any substance at all, they've replaced a console with a tablet or a laptop, so the sound engineer can walk all over the room and just make changes, and you don't have to have all that stuff strung all the floors, a trip hazard, and all the other things.
One of the things I want to kind of flip the page to the other side of that page of technology, and I'm again talking history a bit. There was always historically, and I guess I show my age when I talk about this, we gathered, we had different places to gather. Some of our listeners will remember different places, which might have been Hardee's downtown, or folks would come to a drugstore downtown somewhere. It might have been the feed store, hardware store that folks would remember. It was in downtown Clinton. How important is the Civic Center in the sense of having a physical place to gather, to connect with people? I know a lot of businesses are on your doorstep wanting to get all of their people there, or what have you. How important is that?
Well, JD, it's very important. If you think back, once the building was renamed and became operational and owned by Sampson County, the name went from the Clinton-Sampson Civic Center to the Sampson County Agri-Exposition Center. And we had our official grand opening in July of 1998. And since that time, we have had 1.2 million people come through the doors. We have had 6,545 events, which if you equate that out into by the years that we've been operational, that is 381 events per year on average.
Wow.
We're averaging over between 68 and 70,000 people a year come through the doors. So you can see by those numbers, that's a great impact. So if you look at it on the surface of population, in any given year, we have the population of Sampson County coming through our doors. Now, when you look at economic impact, when we were working on some numbers last year trying to gauge and understand, I'll just give you a real quick example. One of the things that we use, one of our typical type events we have is a banquet. So we went through our booking calendar and we looked at banquets that had occurred in the past 12 months, and it averaged out that there were 18 banquets that were of equal size, and those average size was 550 guests. So we contacted and reached out to some of our clients and asked them, would you provide us data on your caterer, decorator, planners, this kind of stuff, and give them permission to talk with us, not about, we're not going to talk who you are or whatever, but we're trying to gain some insight as to the economic dollars turned over in the community. Well, at the end of the day, when we took the average banquet, the average banquet from start to finish would run about $17,000. And that would be the economic impact, that's the turnover in the county. Now what I mean by that, the least of that is our rent and income from it. But then you got on top of it, we have house managers, security officers, we got caterers at work that have anywhere from 5 to 15 people working on an event. You have security officers, then with a decorator, you've got folks coming in to decorate. And I'm just hitting the basic things. Somebody brings in a band, then you've got motel rooms that are being spent. The wedding parties that come in from out, to come into town, they're staying in their motels. They're buying things in the local businesses. So how it transcends throughout the community is very important, and the turnover dollars. Kind of a unique thing. We have a new director for the Sampson County Convention and Visitor Bureau.
Yeah, and I want to talk about that too when we come back from our next break.
And that's Sheila Barefoot. And Sheila and I we sat down, we were trying to just calculate some numbers based on an average traveler. It's easy to throw numbers at people, but if you think about it this way, if you look at the time and the money, if you were visiting Clinton or Sampson County, and you came in to stay one night, say at $89, $90 for a room, and obviously you're going to have dinner. You most likely have breakfast somewhere. And if you're here on business, you may be taking a client out for lunch. So at the end of the day, we kind of try to just take some conservative numbers, and just the county portion of the sales tax alone on that was $4.65 for that person just to visit for an overnight stay. Not to mention anything else or how it flows back through the community. But you take a caterer, for example, is preparing for an event. They get there and they're wrapping up for,
We're gonna take a quick break. I want to come back, and when we come back, I want to follow up on that Visitors Bureau bit of piece, because a lot of folks may not know we have that.
All right.
Ladies and gentlemen, we're going to be back in a moment. We're talking with Ray Jordan, who is the Executive Director of the Clinton Agri Exhibition Center here in Clinton. Stay with us. Call a friend. We Should Know is on the air.
You're out for an evening on the town. Finally a chance to relax and forget that you left your front door completely unlocked. Fortunately, you just installed a security system from Star Communications. With just your cell phone, you can check on your house, lock it down, light it up, and get back to relaxing.
You forgot to put Buster in his crate.
Unfortunately, we can't help with that. Security and automation from Star Communications. Call today to find out more.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back. We Should Know is on the air. I want to thank you for being with us today. I also want to thank you for your comments via email. A number of folks that I have seen and actually commented on our show last week. That email address again is weshouldknow@gmail.com. weshouldknow@gmail.com. We're fortunate to have Ray Jordan with us this morning. Ray, I want to thank you for stopping by and talking with us, because I know your schedule's busy. The dynamic of the exhibition center and what goes on there. Oftentimes when folks, before break, we were talking a little bit about some of the other things that's engaged with the center, and we were touching on the Visitors Bureau. But my point would be that sometimes when folks drive by, they may see a 9-acre lot full of cars. They may come by the next day and be nothing there but a few cars on the left side. But there's always kind of activity going on. The question would be, in connection with the Visitors Bureau, of which folks may not know exist, number one, the importance of it, and how does geography fit into the importance of having a center of that nature?
Well, I'm glad you used the word center. If you recall, and for those of you out there listening, the Sampson County Exposition Center, the tagline for it is the center of activity. And it is for in a lot of cases for events in our community. But to just touch on, in our facility, we obviously rent space to the Clinton Sampson Chamber of Commerce, and we also lease space to the Sampson County Convention and Visitors Bureau. The unique thing about the three organizations as we work together is that we all cross all of our jobs cross-sect. And with working with Caitlin with the chamber, and a chamber of commerce is there to represent its members and work in the business community, and that's their function. That's what they do. Then you take the Convention and Visitors Bureau is theirs to represent and market Sampson County to potential visitors that are coming into our county. At some point, I'd like to come back with Sheila Barefoot and let her tell you more about the CVB and what it's got going on, because there's going to be some really good things happening as we go forward.
Is she a new addition?
She began January 4th.
Okay.
She replaced the former director, Vicki Crane,
Okay.
and Sheila's hit the ground running, and there's going to be a lot of great things coming on. And one of the things when you talk about impact and everything is that, and I don't want to steal her thunder, so we won't talk much about it,
Yeah.
but recently it was announced in the paper that Cycle NC has selected Clinton, Sampson County, to be one of its overnight stops for their bicycle tour that goes from the mountains to the coast.
That's hundreds of people, if I'm not badly mistaken.
They're expecting us to have over 1,500 people to descend on Sampson County for that one overnight stay.
But when you think about that number, if you were talking about Raleigh, that wouldn't be significant. But for a town with about 8,000 or 10,000 people in it, give or take, that's huge.
Right. It is, and one thing is when you look at it, and it will utilize nearly every room that's available in our community as far as motel and lodging. And at the point we know we're probably going to have to shuttle some folks to a neighboring county, just because of the number of people that are coming in. But those type events are things that the CVB works for. And then if you look back at the Expo Center and how you tie that back together with events and impact with people visiting and coming together, the Expo Center, we partner with a lot of different organizations. And you've worked for the community college and different things you've been involved with, and you understand the value of partnership. And but just in the past, this fiscal year already, we partnered with the business, the Chamber of Commerce last fall and presented the business showcase. There were 70 some businesses that came together and participated in a one-day event where they could market, sell, and promote their businesses, and that was sponsored by the Chamber and the Exposition Center. Over 2,500 people came through the door that day to look at a wide variety of services and goods that are offered by our local businesses. Then a little bit later in that month, we presented the 16th, or might have been the 17th, I can't remember, tell them age, annual Veterans Day program. This was a program that began, the year I came to work with the county, I was having a conversation with the then director of the chamber, was Linda Williamson, about, let's do something to honor the veterans, and that's how that was born, just out of one conversation. And so now that program involves the Chamber, the Expo Center, and the Office of Veterans Affairs. And this year we had 425 people attended the event, and and it's a good time. Obviously recognizing veterans, but it's a good thing for people to come together, and we have a great entertainment.
Absolutely, and I think one of the things that happens with that is people, when I look at our Veterans Director here, Ann Knowles, and her passion for that particular recognition of veterans and what they do and how critical important it is, it just says that we do have a place that folks can go, get together to meet, to do those kinds of things. And I think about the Fallen Firefighters thing that's each year that Wayne Weeks champions that. Those are the kinds of things when I think of the Civic Center, I think of. And I think it's important when we talk about that, that there is this critical need for folks to look at each other beyond looking at them on Facebook or all that, though that's important, or if you're Skyping or whatever you're doing. It's good to do that and maybe encourage that more. Would you think that would be beneficial today, especially to the X and Y generation as they're coming along?
Well, and if you think about impact and bringing people together, obviously there's like right now we're in the political season and people are on Facebook. I had a friend who made a comment. He said, I think I'm going to get off of Facebook until election's over.
Yeah.
He said, I'm tired of hearing about all the negative and all the stuff. Yeah. But when you come together and you can work together and have events and whether it be for pleasure or for business, those are the times that that people are interacting and these bonds are created, more so than sitting in front of a computer screen.
Friends of Agriculture was another event that I was thinking I remember seeing you at recently, and that's been going on for a number of years as well. And Ronnie Jackson and others, give a shout out to those folks for making that happen. It becomes, when I look at it, it seems to be some kind of a vortex for people that have a message, that want to recognize it, want something to happen, oftentimes come there because the design of the building gives you an advantage of large, I think up to what, close to 1,500 people at the max. But then you have some small rooms.
Yeah, we do. We've got we've got rooms that will seat 10 people. We've got one room that'll seat up to 40. Then we can divide rooms to seat 100, 150, and we can go up, and we have had events where we had 1,600 people for dinner.
Everything packed.
Oh yeah, I mean, we couldn't get any more in.
Well, you've had a couple of additions too, I think since the last time we talked. I know you've done some things in the kitchen with a larger cooler area and that kind of thing. And I think, as I recall, it was quite a few years that center was operating, and you had either none or very little kitchen facilities.
Right, and well, we put in a walk-in cooler, which greatly helped with being able to. For example, if you think about preparing salads for 800 to 900 people, you got think about 5 salads in your refrigerator at home.
Wow.
So we roll them in and put them on shelves, that kind of thing. But one of the things that we put in 2 years ago is we put in bar services, and I'll give you the benefits of that. Obviously, the first off the bat is we doing in-house bar services. It became a revenue source for us, and then secondly, the thing that happened is that I ran into the police chief a couple of days ago, and he was saying about the number of incidents that have been reduced by people not being able to bring their own. So there was a win-win for that for us, and it becomes a big profit center. Not to mention the fact that I've put 9 or 10 people to work.
Exactly, and that's the other part of, I think, the mechanism, the driving part that keeps this ship steered. When I look at the numbers, everything from security to housekeeping, as you mentioned a while ago, to folks that are being served various libations, all of that is dollars changing hands.
Well, you think about when you're running a business, a lot of times you're so involved with doing something, and even though you've got a certain number of people working with you, until you stop one day and all of a sudden sit down and start thinking about all this stuff. So anyway, that happened to me not long ago. We were sitting there and I was working on a thing and trying to put some information together, and all of a sudden I realized that I've got 42 part-time people working for me. Now, one thing I do want to make sure our listeners are aware of, those 42 people are all paid on fees that we collect that are not any county's money put into it.
Self-generated.
Yeah, so when we hire a house manager or security officer, whether it be a bar staff or wait staff or whatever we're hiring, those people are paid on a fee that we collect from someone to provide that service. So, but when I looked at it and I finally was adding them all together, and I put down I've got 42 part-time people, and there's only 2 of us that work for the facility, Brooke and I. And but when you have 42 part-time people, that's a small business. No, that's a medium-sized business.
Yeah, that's for this area in particular. I think it would reach medium-size, if not moving toward large. The dynamic of that is interesting though, because each one of those dollars that moves, I mean, if your business major, so each one of those dollars that moves has a multiplier effect and has an impact, and I think that's critically important to look at.
You think about it, I have several folks that work for me through my temporary labor, which they're all part-time, but a lot of them, that's their second or third job that's putting their kids through school. So the economic turnover from it is very important in that it adds to, and those dollars that are turning over through the folks that we hire are adding to their quality of life, which is a very positive thing that we're able to do. And so we're very fortunate, we're very blessed with it, and we got a great staff.
So for the years that the Civic Center has been kind of this center of activity for the county, it sounds to me like it has been consistently growing over the past 18 years. Is that a reasonable assessment?
No, I mean, obviously, there was a slump after 2008. But we remained fairly steady, and since that point, since that slump, we have been on the rise as far as number of events again. And the one thing is that while we've had maybe a little fewer events, the attendance size of those events is much larger.
We're going to take another break, and we'll be back in a moment and continue this conversation. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for being with us. We're kind of halfway to the show now. We'll be back in a moment, and to discuss more not only about the Civic Center but upcoming events in Clinton. Be back in one moment.
Whether it's video, voice, internet, or cellular, Star Communications connects you to the things you love. It's what we do and have done for over 50 years. Star Communications, your local technology company.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back. I want to thank you for being with us today. We're kind of halfway to the show. It's called We Should Know, each and every week on Tuesdays. One of the things I like to do is just shout out some names at the radio station that mention this show each and every week, and I try to do that to just tell them how much I appreciate it. And of course, that's the folks in the morning show at 11:70 a.m. If you look at that show in the morning, you'll see the L-Man, Nolan Z, and Grandpa. And if you want to really get into some very in-depth conversation, that's an interesting show to listen to. So I'll just leave it at that, and I won't get into, maybe I can get all three of them on this show one day if I could get them in the room. The other folks I want to mention clearly is Nicole. Nicole does the Country Store each and every day, and hundreds of thousands of folks in about 8 or 10 counties listens to that show. Very interesting show each and every week, and now it's chronologized on again, mass media. I think there's a website or something up for that, so listen to that show. Also, Tommy the Fly in the afternoon is critically important. Boogie Shoes Radio Network on Saturday afternoon, each and every afternoon. A fellow by the name of Robert Stroud has his golf game right there. That's what he enjoys doing each and every week, and he mentions our show. And Robert, we appreciate you doing that. Wayne Weeks with the Gospel Hour. 1170 radio in Clinton, Star Communications Channel 16, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, 7 p.m. replays, and of course each and every Tuesday at 2:30 simulcast on the radio. We've got with us Ray Jordan. Ray, again, thank you for being with us today. We're talking about the exhibition center and some of the kinds of events that goes on there. Not only weddings, but I just think back at some of the public events. We've mentioned the Veterans event. We've mentioned the Friends of Agriculture event, and pretty heavy hitting speakers at some of these events. It's just kind of amazing.
Well, JB, I want to touch back when we talked about the Veterans Day program just a minute ago. I'll tell you a very interesting story. I'd been on the job less than 10 days with the county, and one of the county manager at the time called me in his office, and anytime you've been working somewhere, I don't know how you are, but me, it's like going to the principal's office when you go back to see your boss the first couple of days. So, he came, the conversation went like this. He said, I just wanted to make you aware of this gentleman from the community. He's going to be coming to see you, and he doesn't like the Civic Center. And that's what he called it at the time. He said, so I want you to meet with him. So I go back and, expecting this thing. So the gentleman comes in, and he's passed away, and he and I really became very good friends. But he came in there, JW, and he just for 2 hours sat at my desk and just let me hold it why that building should have never been built, and went on and on and on about how he just really thought the building should be torn down. And so he left, and I thanked him for his time and everything, and it was just one of those awkward times. And so that was in May or June, early June, and in November we did the first Veterans Day program. I think the program that year was on a Friday. So anyway, on the Monday after, he came in the door and knocked on my door, and I thought to myself, oh my goodness, I've got to hear something again.
Another dose of bad medicine.
But so he walked in and he said to me, he said, Mr. Jordan, he said, I want to tell you one thing. I said, what's that? He said, I came to the Veterans Day program on Friday. He said, I just want to tell you one thing. You'll never hear me say another bad word about this building. And I said, why is that? He said, there's nobody ever stopped and thanked the veterans. He said, everything we've done for every program that's been for us, we've done for ourselves. He said, so I'm your supporter. And so what I learned from that was that, there's 22 county departments that perform various services. Then you got all the city departments and your municipality departments. And the general public never needs any of them all at one time. but they do need them at some point in time. So they become only important when we as an individual need them. And so that's the lesson that he taught me that day, that, JW, think about it. Do you really care about the fire department unless your house is on fire?
And it's a critical
need. Not that
need.
you don't, but I mean,
but a critical need when it's there.
Right. Yeah. And that can be said of most of the functions that we perform. But I'll give you some better examples of things where we are making impact and where we hopefully are enhancing the quality of life and exposing people to new and different things. One of the things that we also sponsored this past year in conjunction with the Sampson County Economic Development Commission and the North Carolina Workforce Career Center and the Triangle South Workforce Development Board, we sponsored the inaugural Sampson County Job Fair. When we started, we didn't know what to expect, how many. We had expectations, but you never know how they're going to be for a first event. But at the end of the day, we had 25 businesses, and when we targeted businesses that had 100 or more employees. So at the end of the day, we had over 25, I think, that actually were exhibiting that day. We had 247 people that got out of bed on a Saturday morning between 8 o'clock and 12 o'clock and came to the Expo Center seeking employment. For a first-time event, I thought we had a success.
Well, and that's tremendous too, because that kind of moves to the point that folks are looking work. A lot of times people say, "Oh, nobody don't want to work," but it sounds like at least you had that many that wanted a job.
Yeah. So the total impact that day, we had 313 people in that building on a Saturday morning for a 4-hour event, and so I contacted some of the businesses that participated after. I've been trying to follow up with them to see how their participation, did it benefit them. So Tuesday after, I had sent an email to the entire group, and this one business called, and we were talking, and they called to thank us for the sponsoring the event and telling us how nice it was and how it was compared to some they'd participated in. And the young lady, she said, and by the way, we hired 4 people since the event. We hired them on Monday.
Tremendous.
So, that was a successful event. Now, other things we got coming up, we have one of the things that I'm very excited and always proud of is we have the Class Act series. And for those of you listening that may not be aware or know what Class Acts is, 16 years ago, when we had the Performing Arts series, we were thinking about how do we build a future audience for the public series. Well, it seemed like kind of like the light bulb went off. Well, we might want to start one in a school. So we began what was called the Class Act series. So it's officially known as the Class Act Sampson Center Stage for Students. So each year since, and now we're coming up in April, we'll be entering the 16th season of this. We have brought in over 106,000 Sampson County school students. It includes both school systems.
They're bussed into
the facility. They attend a performing arts event free. 106,000 kids over 16 years, and it's for grades 1 through 8. There's no cost to the student, no cost to the school other than the busing to get them there. But think about that. If you were busing for a field trip and having to go to Fayetteville, Raleigh, or Wilmington to see similar type events, but we're doing this, and we're able to do this through our sponsors. And JW, you and I were talking earlier about fundraising for things you and I are working on together, and fundraising is a difficult thing. But I will tell you, hands down, when we talk about Class Acts with folks and potential sponsors, it's the easiest sell that we do. And I hate to use the word sell, but when you can say to a potential sponsor, we're bringing in every student in grades 1 through 8. It don't matter if they've got, if they've got a high income level at home or if they got or a poor at home. It's available to every student on an equal basis, and the programs we present, they are quality programs. I mean, really good programs. We've got this coming up in April, on April 11th. We're doing One Noble Journey. It's about an African American slave named Henry Box Brown that mailed himself to freedom, and it's based on a true story. then we have a performance on the Grimm books called Happily Ever After. And then on the next day we have a show called Jack's Adventure in American History. And then finally on the Friday, we're going to have a dance company called Soul Street Dance Company that is coming from Houston, Texas. That is a professional company. They are envoys of, there's a program of the U.S. Department of Cultural Resources called Arts Envoy. And Soul Street is one of their Art Envoy artists. They just got back from a European tour, and these are artists that have traveled all over the world performing, representing the United States, and they'll be here giving 2 shows for our students. That night we'll have a public performance. On Saturday we'll have a master class that we're going to offer, and then on Monday and Tuesday following, they're going to be in some of our county schools doing some more work. So if you look at that impact from that show, and you know, some students may can afford to go and attend these things, some can't. But at least at this point, we provide that opportunity, and it's free.
And I think it's part of the structure with arts. And historically, I look back and I remember there was a team that would come around to the schools.
Resident work.
Yeah, and there was Saltine or Saldine players or what, I can't remember the exact name. Some of our listeners, I'm sure, will remind me of that when this show airs. But it was very important because as a child, I remember looking forward to that so much. So do you get folks in the schools now calling, going, you know, what are we going to do this year? Has it reached that point?
Oh, yeah.
Kind of a vortex there. They're anticipating that?
It really is, and let's touch on that, but go back for a minute for the economic impact. Now, I can't recall what the county contribution per pupil is. You may remember. But think about it this way. What we are offering and providing to the schools through Class Acts equals $4.42 per pupil if it had to be funded through county dollars. And it's funded through private donations and provided for free. That's a good thing. But talk about impact. You can probably run into most folks that are going to be, say, from 40 to 55 years old, that will always tell you that they remember, one of the things they remember from being in middle school was seeing the North Carolina Symphony.
Absolutely, absolutely. And we can definitely talk about how important that is and some of the music the symphony has done right here in this county. And at one time they were playing at the First Baptist Church. So. Yep. Ladies and gentlemen, we'll be back in a moment. We're coming up on our last segment of the show. We encourage you to call a friend, tune in. We're talking about events happening right here at your back door. You can be there in a few moments in Clinton. Be back in a moment.
What? How can that be? The way someone broke in and stole my TV. Unless I want to install steel bars, I'll call the experts in security. Star Communications is the one that I can trust to get the job done.
Yeah, the only thing worse than that is not feeling safe in your own home or business.
Call Star Communications now. We're your local security experts, from alarms and monitoring to automation and personal protection.
Word.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back. We're coming up on our last segment of We Should Know. Coming to you on Channel 16, Star Communications. Also simulcast with WCLN 1170 Radio. We have with us today Ray Jordan. Ray, we're talking about a number of events. I don't want to, before we go into anything else right now, I just want to mention that we do have an arts council here in Sampson County, and you're the president of that arts council, and Cara Donatelli is the executive director. You've got, I could call the names of the folks that's on that board. You guys do a tremendous job each and every year bringing arts, everything from visual art to musical kinds of events, just all kinds of art stuff. Yep. The Victor R. Small house on College Street, I never thought that it would last as long as it has, but you got the place remodeled, wonderful facility on the inside, a lot of activity there. Speak to that for a moment.
I will, and I appreciate you mentioning the Arts Council, and JW, that goes right back to our opening conversation when we talk about partnerships and collaborations. We mentioned the Convention Visitors Bureau. We talked about the Chamber of Commerce, Veterans Office, working with the Economic Development Commission. We also work and partner with the Sampson Arts Council. And I just happened to be president of it. It's strange that I'm president of the Arts Council and working with it on behalf of the county as well. But we do have an 11-member board, and as you said, our home is the Victor R. Small House located on College Street in downtown Clinton in the Historic District. And the Arts Council has been very blessed. It was organized in 1972 was when it was chartered, and so it's got a rich history. But as it's known today, in recent years, and especially in the past 7 to 8 years, the Arts Council has taken on a whole different role. It's gone from mainly being a producer of events to being not only a producer of events, but to offering classes, art classes, pottery classes, bringing in visiting artists, some of the things that impact the community. One of the things that the board has a focus on is to how can we as a board and as the Arts Council, how can we develop our local artists? So if you think about communities, if I say the word pottery, what do you associate with it?
Probably some of our Native American culture is huge in some of those areas.
And well, a lot of folks think about Seaboard, where all the pottery is in North Carolina. And pottery is a big business, and art is a big business. You think about when art, it's not just somebody drawing a painting or sculpting something, but it gets back to the creative arts. It's just like the folks that are producing our show today. So those are things that are also considered part of the arts. But our mission is not only to engage our county residents in fun activities, but we're trying to cultivate it where it becomes an economic driver within a community. And that's one of my goals. To me, it's a big thing, because we had an art show a couple weeks ago, or the last show we had, it actually just ended. It stayed in the house for about 5 weeks. But at the artist reception this particular night, at the very end, this person I'd never met, it was from Sampson County, came up to me and he said, "I want to thank you all, the Arts Council, for sponsoring this event and letting me show my work." He actually sold some work that night. And it was just, I cannot express to you how grateful he was for that opportunity. And it's almost like he didn't even know we were there in trying to help artists in the community. So that is a big thing that we'll be doing as we continue to move forward, not only just present, but there's a lot of things going on with the Arts Council.
And speaking of collaboration, Arts Council, County of Sampson, City of Clinton, again this year, and correct me on this, is it the 6th year for a series called Alive After 5, 2016?
It is 6.
The 6th year.
6 years.
Tremendous. I mean, a lot of folks will look at me and say, "Wow, I didn't think that thing would last over a year or two." But 6 years, actually, it almost is mirroring the number of years we've been on air with We Should Know. So I don't know whether there's a tie or not, but you've got some, I want to talk about that for a minute, because this is free to the public. There's absolutely no charge, and it's all outdoors. You've been very fortunate, I think, except for maybe 1 or 2 events over the past 5 years that you hadn't, that you had to take one inside. But talk about that for a minute, because some of these bands you've got, there's been a lot of deliberation and discussion and trying to get that together. 6 to 8:30, and it's done at the City Market in Clinton.
Well, JW, first off, you serve on the committee, so you're well versed in it. But the Alive After 5 is a committee of the Arts Council, and it's made up from folks from across Sampson County and our community. There are actually 10 committee members, and if I try to recall everybody's name right now, I probably would mess up. But there are 10 folks that work diligently to make Alive After 5 happen. And then again, in partnership with the city, the things that they do for us as far as their staffing of security and their public utilities folks that help us out, and then things on our county side. But It is hard to believe that it's the sixth season. It seems like the first one was yesterday, but this year is going to be a very, very special year for us. We've got some really good bands lined up. Not that we haven't in the past, but I'm very excited about the diversity of the bands that we have and we're able to offer this season. And each event this year is going to be, our Live After 5 season is going to be each event will be held on the third Thursday of the months of May, June, August, September, and October. Now please note we are skipping July because of the extreme heat and the fact that so many people are on vacation. That was our least attended time. So we did add back a fifth event, but it will be in October.
Let's go over some of these, because I'd like for folks to just at least hear the names, and maybe you give a little information. On the May 19th, this next month, May 19th is going to be the first band. It's called Black and Blue. I know you could talk about it. Robert Stroud could probably talk about it for hours, but tell us about that band, and are they new to this area?
They are Black. The name of the band is the Black and Blue Experience. It is a 12-piece band. They're from up around the Greensboro area. And primarily they have played in the wedding market. We were able to locate them and find them. When you think about 12 people on stage, it's going to be a big show. It has female and male singers and horn section. It's going to be a really fun show. The one really good, the unique thing about this band is that they, and like most of the bands we present, they do play a wide variety of type music. So it might be R&B, it might be beach, it might be a current top 40 hit, or it could be a country song. But this will be a very fun band and a great band to kick off the season, Black and Blue Experience. And I would say at this point, the one thing to let everybody know is if you'll go visit AliveAfter5ClintonNC.com. That is the official website for the Alive After 5. AliveAfter5ClintonNC.com. On there you can find a list of the sponsors, the concert dates, as well as video on each of these artists.
You can actually look.
Oh yeah, you can see what it's going to be.
Well, I want to make sure we get all these in. We got about 3 minutes left. So Soul Psychique, is that?
Soul Psychedelic.
Soul Psychedelic.
Yep.
And that's June the 16th.
June 16th. I first saw them a couple years ago, a high energy band. If they don't keep the dance floor packed, no one will. Actually, their main leader grew up in Mount Olive and has been toured around the United States and actually has recorded an album. And I cannot recall his name right this second, but really fun band. The next band that will be in August is always a crowd favorite for Sampson County, is Jim Quick and Coastline. September 15th, we'll present the always popular Band of Oz. And then on October 16th, we're going to have something a little unique. The Live After 5 event for October 6th will be held in conjunction with the Cycle NC event. And on that day, we're going to have two concerts. We're going to have two bands. Eastline Band. Now, Eastline, we could talk some time about. Eastline Band is a band that is from Sampson County. It's the first band that we've actually presented that is from our home community. This band's been in about a year, and they play all variety of music, and you can see more about them on our website. And then we'll close out that event and the season with Spare Change, and Spare Change is from LaGrange, and they play. I mean, that's a high energy show as well to end the season with.
And you can be a sponsor to this. Let's talk about the sponsors very quickly. We've got about a minute left. So
we're right now in the middle of, the committee is right in the middle of soliciting sponsors for the 2016 season. There's about 5 categories of sponsorship from $250 and up. There's opportunities for folks to become a koozie sponsor. We have opportunity for food vendors. But if you're interested in being a sponsor, you can find information on the website. But I would let everyone know that the deadline to become a sponsor is April 20th.
April 20th.
And
so they need to call you or go to that website and fill out the information. It won't take long to fill it out. Become a sponsor, and they can be engaged in the event, and tremendous signage and promotion.
There's great promotion for the events. We have our road banners we have put up, our billboards. We have a sponsor sign underneath there. We have the Bright Board, which is the huge LED marquee that plays during the show, that shows all the videos and things going on and logos. And each sponsor gets tickets to the sponsors receptions and JW to get T-shirts and other goodies.
So we encourage you to be a sponsor of this event. I know Star Communications is a sponsor. We're looking at a huge event this year. Normally anywhere from 1,500 to 2,000 people shows up. Possibly more than that, especially with this cycling group come in. So I think that's going to be a tremendous hit for you guys as well. Last 5 seconds, anything we missed?
I appreciate you letting me be here today, and if you have information about the Live After 5, please visit liveafter5clintonnc.com. And if you have information about the Exposition Center, please give us a call. We're right now updating our website, so hopefully within another week or two we'll have that done and online and be very good for folks, and that's SampsonExpoCenter.com.
Absolutely. Ladies and gentlemen, we've been watching We Should Know today. We thank you for being with us, and as always, we look forward to seeing you again next week on the radio, and may God bless.
Cool.
Thank you for tuning in to this week's episode of We Should Know with host J.W. Simmons. If you have a question, comment, or suggestion regarding this or any episode, please send your emails to weshouldknowedu@gmail.com. And remember to tune in every Tuesday at 2:30 for another informative episode of We Should Know.